Hi, my name's Adam, and I am Coffee Pro. And my website, howtocoffeepro.com, is designed just to help you, whether you are a coffee fan emerging, one day hopeful to be a coffee pro, or you're currently a coffee pro. We're going to cover lots of awesome topics, from basics like today's lesson, how and when and why should I freeze coffee? Should I freeze coffee? All the way to roasting and extraction, chemical and physical reactions that happen in beautiful coffee beans. So I've worked in specialty coffee for almost a decade now and collected a lot of information, and it's time for me to give back and share. So that's the purpose for this video. Look forward to sharing with you and breaking it down. If you have a question, please drop a note, ask a question. You can sign up for my newsletter, contact through the website. Definitely like and subscribe, because that really helps this video reach more people. It helps push me up in YouTube and other analytics, and that just helps us all grow and enjoy coffee more together. So let's get started. Today's topic, question: can I freeze my coffee beans? Should I freeze my coffee beans? You'll get conflicting advice. Some people will say, yeah, go ahead. It's a great way to save money. And other people will say, never. Don't freeze your coffee. It destroys it. What's the situation? Why are we getting conflicting advice? Well, there is a certain time when it is good to freeze your coffee, and there's certain times when you shouldn't freeze your coffee, or you just don't need to. So let's look at those. I realize that I might be opening myself up to ridicule. So if you are a coffee professional and you want to start an argument with me on my opinion here, that's okay, because this is my opinion and I'm sticking to it. To freeze or not to freeze? That is the question. My answer is yes, under certain situations. So what's really happening here is rooted in science. And if we understand the science of what makes coffee super tasty and how we can protect and preserve that beautiful taste, those aromas, the flavors that come out when we pour hot water over it and dissolve it, well, we all want tastier coffee. So let's make sure we can figure out how to not destroy our coffee, how to not speed up the process of losing that. What happens when we take these wonderful green coffee beans that are the seed of a coffee cherry? Yes, it's the seed of a fruit. We'll talk about that in a future video. And we roast them. We roast them to this beautiful golden brown. How do we roast? We'll talk about that too. Hold on. What happens when we turn that coffee from green to brown? Well, what's happening is this raw coffee seed, we're putting it into a roaster, it's heating up, it's expanding, the molecules are transforming and changing, the compounds, these awesome complex chemical reactions are happening inside that coffee roaster for 7, 9, 11, 15 minutes, however long you're roasting that coffee. And it's actually a different physical substance. It's also much more brittle. It's porous, so we can grind it, we can dissolve it. This is like little rocks. You throw this in your grinder and your grinder's not going to be happy. So when those coffee fibers are expanding and when the molecules are changing, that's what makes roasted coffee smell so good. And there are volatile compounds that want to escape. Well, when they escape, oxygen comes in. And anything that goes stale, anything that goes bad, anything that goes stale is a process of oxidation. So oxygen is constantly trying to get in, it's constantly moving all around us, we're breathing it in, and it steals the freshness of your coffee. Well, if you just leave your coffee out, you leave it ground, sitting out on the counter for days, it's going to get super, super flat and boring. And that's what old coffee, oxidized coffee is. That's why we have best by dates or roasted on dates for our coffee. Now, what we need to do is to preserve that, we want to slow down the oxidation. We can't stop oxygen altogether unless you really have a high-tech kitchen. Then this video is probably, you can just skip this video and go on to the next one. But if you're like most of us, you just want to make that tasty coffee taste good longer. Because you open that bag the first time and the aromas are intoxicating. You grind it the first time and the aromas are just all over the kitchen, all over. I mean, they get into your clothes, you love it. But after a week, after 2 weeks, after a month, it gets really old and stale. So do not leave your coffee open. If you can help it, do not pre-grind it. Definitely don't put it near heat, don't put it near moisture, and it's a bad practice to put it in one of those beautiful glass jars and sit it on your shelf. That's for decoration only. Ultraviolet light will also speed up that oxidation process. So keep it in a bag, seal it up, squeeze out the air, put it in a cool, dark, dry place. That's good coffee storage 101. But what happens if, let's paint a few examples, right? So what happens if I've got my favorite coffee roasted by this local roaster, micro lot, single origin, this year's harvest. I gotta wait next year until I get this coffee. I get 5 pounds of it sent to me. I would freeze it. I would break it up into 5 little bags. Instead of 1 5-pound bag, I've got 5 1-pound bags. And I'll double Ziploc those. I'll throw them in the back of the freezer and I'll pull them out throughout the year as I want to enjoy that coffee. Share it with a friend. Or you've got a vacation home, right? And you travel up to your vacation home, you bought too much coffee, you don't want to haul it back and forth. Well, you can throw it in the freezer and then 2 months later, when you come back, just pull it out once. You don't pull it out and put it in, pull it out and put it in. That's going to speed up the oxidation because just like a cool glass brought out into a warm environment, it starts sweating. That's moisture and heat changes. So when you have some coffees like that, there might be a Christmas blend. There might be a seasonal roast that you just really love. It comes around once a year at your local specialty roaster. Break that bag up into a few small bags. You know, maybe I can use this in a few days or within a week's time. So I'll just pull this one out, and when I use that one up, I'll get into the freezer and pull this one out and just use them up that way. Rather than pulling the whole bag out and then having to throw the whole bag in, when I pull one of these out, I just leave it in my cupboard and I use it up. So again, I'm gonna have the small bags and then I'll double bag them. If it's in the original coffee bag, those coffee bags are made well. They have one-way air valves on them. Just leave the coffee in that bag and maybe stick it into a larger Ziploc as well. Throw it into the back of the freezer so it's not in the door where you're constantly opening and closing. That again will protect the freshness. So if you can do these things, you can slow down the rate of oxidation. Double bagging it, putting it in the freezer where things really aren't moving around too much, water molecules have frozen. It's going to be hard for oxygen to come in there. Oxygen even is going to be moving slower. You know, just in that presence, there's not constant airflow like there is in your kitchen or in other places where you'd keep the coffee. So this is a great way to store up and stock up if you've got that favorite blend. If you get a good deal, coffee beans, pre-ground coffee, even K-cups. They're already ground and pretty much oxidized and stale anyway, but it will slow it down if you keep your K-cups in the freezer. So this is a little tip on how to freeze your coffee like a pro. I'm a pro, and that's how I freeze coffee every now and then when I get something really special. Bring it back from China or someone roast it up for me. And it's good. It's tasty after months. You pull it out and it's enjoyable. Let me know how your time goes when you're freezing your coffee. When you pull it out, what do you find? And leave some comments. Again, if this is helpful or if you know a friend that could use a bit of advice like this, please share it. Invite them to the website or the newsletter. I'll be sending out all the updates, new videos, new tips and tricks, lots of stuff for coffee pros and coffee fans alike. howtocoffeepro.com. Look forward to talking to you. My name's Adam. See you next time.